There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you. All that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite, yeah, when we unite, oh, we unite, yeah, yeah, when we unite, yeah, yeah, you are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Good afternoon, friends and family of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I am so glad that you have chosen to spend a little time with us, whether you're watching live or you're watching a recording. You are welcome here, and I am so very happy that you have joined us. So before we get into the meat of our conversation today, I want to tell you a little bit about who we are at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. This is a list of the things that are important to us, to our values. And hopefully, you know, that we're a match, that these things are important to you as well. And that's how you know that this is a community that you may belong to. So the things on our list, very top there, is spiritual growth and practice. And I love that word practice there because it implies to me that we are continually moving. We're continually practicing. It's not like you get it and you're done and you finally have arrived at being spiritual or whatever that thing is for you, but that we are continually in a practice and continually growing and evolving and changing. We value love. We believe that love is the essence of who we really are, this thing that we call God, that we call universe, that its essence is really love, and that we are part of that and couldn't be anything else. We don't always recognize it. We don't always feel it. We don't always know it, but it is, in fact, underneath everything else. We value appreciation. And that word appreciate means that something that grows, grows in our awareness and understanding. So as we appreciate the things in our lives, the things that we appreciate grow as well. So appreciation is really important for us, gratitude and appreciation. Community is also very important. There are things that we learn better in community. There are some things that we learn by ourselves, but there are some things that are learned better in a group. It kind of creates a synergy where everybody learns a little bit more when you're in community. We value freedom, and that's freedom to be who it is we came here to be. We're talking today about owning our power, and that's part of being free. When you own your power, you feel like you're free to show up, to be who you are. So we value freedom, and we value creativity. We are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. That's part of what we believe here in Centers for Spiritual Living, and not that we look like whatever God might be, like that bearded man on a cloud somewhere that we have created as an image, but that we share the capacity, the ability of the Creator to create ourselves. And so we create our life experience. And what we try to do here is give you some practices and tools and ideas for how to create on purpose, how to create the life that you want to lead, not to live by default. And we value health and wholeness, and that is health in all its manifestations, whether physical health, mental health, emotional health. That is very important to us, as well as generosity. As we give, we receive. So we are a generous group of people, and as an organization, we give as well. And so we have a lot of givers in our organization, a lot of generous people. And then the last thing on that list is financial well-being. We know that we live in a world where we need money to, to pay the bills, right? To pay rent and to pay your electric and to pay the minister, all those great things. That all comes from money. And so we value financial well-being. And then our vision at Centers for Spiritual Living Ocala is that we are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have on our spiritual community, on the larger Centers for Spiritual Living organization, and on our larger community. And for us, it's Ocala, Marion County, but it's Florida, it's the US, it's the world. And our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to that power and presence that lies within and all around them, so they may live their best lives. That means we are doing our job if your experience of life is getting better as a result of the things that you're learning here, as a result of the things that we talk about, and the practices that you are implementing in your own life. Like, that is why we're here, is to help people live their best lives. And so our conversation today comes from a curriculum that I have developed through peace building efforts, and it's social emotional learning and nonviolent communication, and a lot of different pieces from a lot of different places. But it is called Self-Renewal, and it's a 12-session course. And it basically, self stands for social emotional life focus. So social emotional life focus renewal. And that means really healing our emotional lives within ourselves. And we're talking about the capacity to then heal our relationships when there's been harm or a betrayal, or, those tips that we all have with our loved ones. Like, how do we resolve those kinds of things in a way that is uplifting for all? And so those are all things that we talk about in the self-renewal class. And today in particular, we're going to be talking about power, what power is, why it's important to own our own power, et cetera, et cetera. And I have a wonderful guest joining me today, the dear, where is she? Reverend Mary Ellen Cassie. Hey, Mary Ellen.
How are you?
How are you well, it's a beautiful, sunshiny, warmish kind of day in Florida. I don't know what it's like in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Sunny and snowbound.
Sunny and snowbound. Oh my. Well, at least it's bright. At least it's bright.
It is that. Today. I'm most grateful for the sun. And grateful to be here with you.
Yes, and I thank you for coming. You know, we did, I'm not sure if the group knows or how many times if I've said it or not, but that we did a year-long study of this social, emotional, life-focused renewal. And you were one of the participants in that class. And it was such a joy to watch you go through the process and come out on the other side. I think, well, I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but what appeared to me was somebody who was much lighter, much easier, much more in touch with your own joy than you were before that process.
Well, just to add on to your statement of watching me, because the most important thing, and even the work that I do, is to be a witness, to witness someone on a journey. And when I finished, I remember giving some feedback. And one of the things that I transitioned from being in my own limited life or in prison, self-imprisonment, was I used the words. I remember one of our last classes together, the last one or two, was that I felt untethered. And I used the word emancipated that I've never used in my life, free and freedom. The three things, the three pillars of doing that work for me, delivered me on the platter for myself to love and to look at and to be, wow. It's hard to believe that was a whole year.
Yeah.
And that you're right. I am much lighter and much more loving and caring towards myself and to others. It is life altering. Mm-hmm. So I hope that's my 2 cents worth and my glowing respect for the work that you do, etc. And to come out of it, because I mean, part of the power that we'll talk about is all from within. It wasn't from anyone else. I had to do the work. And I was just fortunate and blessed to, ring you up and say, I think this might be for me. I don't know. I didn't know what it was, but it definitely was for me because, of course, it goes hand in hand because I signed up with Valerie Kaur as well to do Revolutionary Love. So they both started at the same time. My covenant and my commitment to that work and to the work that you're doing,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Changing, Cindy, life changing. For anyone, I'm not the miracle child. We're all miracles.
Yeah. Well, this, I'm just doing the curriculum, the same thing that we did, except that we're not having the breakout sessions and things like that. So for some of those exercises, but basically I'm sharing the same information this year so that people can come out on the other side with that, they do the practices, feeling that kind of untethered, self-renewed, just love and joy and so much easier, so much lighter and brighter. Yeah. It's been a journey for me as well.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
You get to witness the people and the change, and you can affirm, even if we can't see it sometimes. And then it shows up and registers and it's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because that was a long time to commit to anything.
It was a long time.
But I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would do it again. It has value. Anything that can create that kind of a shift, I think, for us.
Mhm.
Because I always say I'm the architect of my life, but this was interior designing, altogether different. It was an interior excavation. I had to learn what isn't even true in my life and never was.
Yeah. And that's the thing of the spiritual journey, right? That I've been saying now for years, because I'm proving it for myself all the time, is that the spiritual journey isn't about becoming someone else. It is about becoming more fully ourselves and letting go of all the stuff that is not, all the stuff that doesn't serve you,
Yeah.
all the paradigms and society's norms and rules and family things that were told to us like it was the truth, when really it's just something someone made up. Right? And we
another
keep our own
another story.
story, another story. You know what? I just realized, and because we don't have Donna with us today, usually Donna prays us in, and I haven't prayed us in yet. So I think we should probably do that.
Yeah.
So we do, unless you want to pray us in.
Oh, go ahead, honey.
All
I'll
right.
pray if you want, but it doesn't matter.
Go ahead and pray us in. So we'll just take this moment and just kind of turn your attention within. Of course, if you're driving, keep your eyes open, Focus softly on something in front of you if you're not comfortable closing your eyes. So just take a deep breath and relax and feel if there's any tension in your body, anywhere in your neck, your shoulders, your arms, just let that tension just flow on out. And feel yourself relax. With each breath, you relax a little deeper and become a little more present to this moment. And so I give thanks for this moment, for this gathering of individuals, for myself and for Reverend Mary Ellen and for Richard running tech and for everybody who is watching today or watching at a later moment. I just pray and affirm that whatever needs to be said is said, and whatever needs to be heard is heard, and that these words and these ideas fall like seed in fertile, ready soil for people to take in to their lives, to use as it is helpful, as they see fit, to understand on a deeper level what it means to own our own power, what that is to be a creative being, creating an experience of life, a masterpiece that is the life that we are living. And so I just affirm that each one learns a little something, that there is growth, that there is an expansion that happens, that begins today and continues on through the upcoming days and weeks and months to come. And I am grateful that as this light within each of us becomes brighter, that we are each lighting the way, helping to light the way for our loved ones and for the people whose lives we touch. And so I'm grateful for this time together. I'm affirming that it is good, that it is a rich discussion, and it is powerful, and it is heard by all who need to hear it. And I release these words with joy and gratitude and excitement, knowing that it is already done. And so it is.
And so it is.
Nice. It's fun to change it up once in a while and do the prayer, listen to the prayer. It just always kind of like anchors me right back.
Oh, no, thank you. It's true.
Wonderful, wonderful. So the conversation is power. And I referenced at the beginning or in the description a quote from Oprah. It was something about like after interviewing thousands of people, the one thing that makes the most difference in a person's life is when they come into owning their own power. So I wanted to kind of spend some time talking about that. And well, first of all, kind of defining power. Right? So the question was, is power good or is power bad? And when I do this with groups of people, inevitably half of them are going to raise their hand and say power is awful. You know what people do with it, when it gets in the wrong hands, and people will hurt one another and coerce and so on and so forth. And then other people are going to say, no, power is great. and what I want to say is that power is not good or bad.
That's right.
It is neutral, right? It is what we do with our power, and that makes the difference. And even with that, there's still different manifestations of power. I'm going to put up a slide here for people to see how we're describing it differently. So let me see. Where's my definitions? I hope this is it. Yes, basic concepts of power. So the kind of power that people are looking at and saying this is bad, power is bad, is what this group. Let me see. This comes from a document, Making Change Happen: Power Concepts for Revisioning Power for Justice, Equality, and Peace, from Just Associates. And I was turned on to this by Brene Brown. But anyway, these 4 different manifestations of power, the first one being power over. It's the most commonly recognized form of power that has many negative associations, including repression, force, coercion, corruption, discrimination, et cetera, et cetera. So that's power over, and that's the kinds that people think of as being bad. Then we have power with, which has to do with finding common ground among different interests to build collective strength, right? That is built on mutual support, collaboration, solidarity, recognition, respect for differences. Then there's power to and power within, and both of those have to do with our innate power, right? To, first of all, power to refers to the unique potential of every individual to shape his or her life experience. And then power within has to do with that individual's sense of self-worth and their self-knowledge. So I want to focus on power to and power within in this conversation. We know that the other kinds of power exist, but that's really a different workshop. But I want to focus on our personal power to mold and shape and create our life experience. And so I think it's difficult, for one thing, because people have those different connotations about power. So some people don't even think they want to own their own power because they're afraid that it's going to do something bad to them, right? To have power. When really power is just like the gasoline in your vehicle. If you don't have gas in your car, you're not going anywhere. If you don't have any personal power, you're not gonna accomplish much in life. You're gonna get pulled here and there and everywhere. So I agree with Oprah's quote: "Change happens when you can own it." Your thoughts on that, Marielle?
Yes, when I first read it, I thought, I know Oprah is well known and people follow her, but for me, I had to stop myself to say, no, what does that mean for me? So this is part of my rebirthing myself, I guess, in a way, and for knowledge about, that's nice that Oprah says this. That's great. And I mean, part of me went right to, if I had those houses and if I had that money, I might feel real powerful too. But that isn't the power that I practice. And so that was her definition. And I'm going to read Ernest Holmes from Science, our teaching, Science of Mind, on page 620. And
let me just say, hang on a second. I picked that quote because of the fact that she has spoken to so many people.
Exactly.
So many breakthroughs. To say that is when you see the differences, when somebody can own their power and not be in a victim mode where life is happening.
Yeah. And I agree, because she has been a change agent for myself and for many, many people over all these years. I mean, I used to watch her quite a bit. I don't watch her as often as I used to because I just commune with my source immediately. But no disrespect to Oprah. But I'm just saying that people have a different image of what power is. They relate it to money or objects, or we call them effects, like your car or whatever, or clothes. But for me, I go to source, but Ernest Holmes, and I'm only going to use a couple of sentences out of his whole definition, is that It's the energy by which we live. And we set this law. Power is this energy, the energy by which we live. And we set the law in motion as soon as we ignite our brain into thinking. As soon as we have a thought, it's ignited. The spark is on, the fire is lit. And one of the biggest things, and I appreciate what he put in here, no competition, no monopoly. So just because you have power, Cindy, doesn't mean I can't have it because you own it all. And same as like the same content, how I felt about Oprah's quote. Yes, but you also have to do the deep interior work. And so Gary Zukav said once that we need to learn how to live in the sweet spot. Well, I can say I hit the sweet spot in October, November of last year when I came through and had many different things happen to me for the better, where I could let go and release things. And so I think there's a journey in between just the word that you can have a transition. Absolutely. But for me, I know that because she read this, the quote from Gary Zukav on her YouTube video that I watched about her speaking about power. And that's what it was about, looking, but not outside of ourselves, but inside. So what makes us feel great? What makes us feel worthy or valuable? But that my little life matters. I mean, I say that now to myself. My life matters. And I'm teaching my grandchildren, all lives matter. And so I grew up never knowing any of that. That would have been, that was beyond my parents' ability to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they didn't have the tools. Today we have different tools.
Sure.
And then if we incorporate them in our lives as a living presence, because that's what I believe I'm doing now, is that humanity, I look around now and I had to ask last month, God help me, like, where is humanity? Where is our humanity? Has it disappeared completely? It's questionable. And so then I lean into my spiritual practice and say, of course, it's still here. It's in transition. And not to get caught up about what is going on, but knowing, really knowing that God is in the chaos, God is in the confusion, God is in there isn't a spot where God is not. I know that sounds like a quacky dog joke or something, but it's everywhere presence. And so when I practice living in the now and being in the moment, I can't jump out and say, oh yeah, I'm with those, occupationists here in Canada right now. No, I don't want to belong to any of that. And so it's really searching. This is a good topic because it made me realize, coming out of all of this, is that I own my own power through each and every decision, with every thought. And if not, then I'm just, I don't even watch those reality TV programs. I can just look outside and see a lot. But based on this work, is about really finding out, and the power for me was learning to love myself and accept myself, and to add on that I'm valued and that I matter. Those are words I would never have used before last year. Mm-hmm. And so now here I am, coming out of the old Ringer washing machine, if you can imagine, and being squeezed through those rollers. That's how I felt, sort of flattened out. But I don't think we can have change if we don't sort of let go of what I thought was the truth, and replace it with new foundations and things like that. And so power is a big word. Mm-hmm. And it has, and when you talked about that, about even the power that Oprah has, the audience and the people that you can touch, the hearts that you can touch, that's unfathomable, right? I mean, That's what she does. She talks to real people and hears real people, sees real people. And that's the other part of earlier when I said about being witnessed in a program, is that we're not alone. And I think the other practice, this was obscene when I was asked to do this, but I tell myself I love myself every day. Now I'm supposed to say this 500 times a day. I haven't quite made 500 times a day, but I do start off my day saying it and then reminding myself before I go to bed at night that I love myself. But it seems so foreign. It's like I could be speaking German, but I was going to say, we always say fake it till you make it, but no, this was with great intention and attention that I deserve this. And then when you get to feel it, it's like my heart just broke open and I've committed myself to being in service to the world. So whatever shows up, I'm in service. I don't say God used me lightly. Right. So it's that. And I think we all do it differently. We all do it differently. And I think that I came up with a practice. I use IAA. I don't have another acronym for it, but I use it because I set an intention every day. Then I apply my attention to it, my mindful practice about being attentive to what that intention is and not lose sight of that. And then also to have that attitude. And I always like to put the attitude of gratitude with it because I'm grateful that I'm successful at the end of the day when I review. Like as a check-in, did I really stick to those 3 letters that can make a difference? And for the most part, it's that. And to have the attitude of loving everybody. I don't have to like you. I just have to love everyone.
Yeah.
And that helped Cindy, I think, doing Valerie's work as well with you about everybody is my brother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, my grandparents. I'm in isolation here, and I can tell you I get a hug once a month when I see my doctor. Yeah. I wouldn't have any contact for the last 2.5 years here. It's been different. And so I'm happy that your work unfolded and I got to unveil myself and be vulnerable and humble and many, many different other emotions. And so I think there's power in vulnerability. I think there's power. I think there's power in allowing yourself to be seen.
Yes.
Because I say to people now, I see you.
100%. Yeah.
Right? I see you. And then when people say that to me, I say, thank you. I like to be seen.
I put your acronym in there, but I put it the wrong way. IAA. I put attention, intention, attitude of gratitude.
Well, that's how I wrote it at first to myself because that's what I practice. Okay. Like setting myself up. I don't want to fail. I want to celebrate. Mm-hmm. And the power in using that. It's like, because I don't do goals. I don't do New Year's things and all that jazz. I want to love myself and ourselves the most I can possibly do.
Right.
And so
you set the attention, you put your attention on it, and then you give gratitude. I think that's great.
I think at the end of it's at the end of my day, I do that review and I say, okay. And if I failed, I just say, whoops, well, I have tomorrow. I can try again, be better. Mm-hmm. No self-criticism. I mean, it is a practice and a practice and a practice.
So all of those things all go into owning your power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things, right? It's paying attention. It's realizing one of the, I think a paradox, and there's someone who's done a lot of research on this out of UC Berkeley and the Greater Good Institute. Yes. And he talks about the paradox of power in that to have power really requires that you give it away, right? Absolutely. So the more powerful you are, or the more you empower others to own their personal power, the more power you have. It's like it grows. The more you give it, The more you empower others, the more powerful you become. So that's one of the paradoxes of power, and it requires all of that, attention, intention.
Yeah, you don't keep it for yourself because then it's false. It's not giving. And when you know yourself, when we give things away, it comes back. And so it's the boomerang. I mean, if you want power, you give yourself away. You give what you have. And I mean, there's so many people that practice compassion, and even compassion. I had to have a lot of compassion. I had to do a lot of self-care in the last 2.5 years. And I'm grateful that I could even accept that I deserved the self-care, to give myself, to show up.
Right.
There's so many little innuendos that pop up and say, oh my God, I thought this might be over, and it's not. It's just a continuation of my magnificence being revealed.
Yeah.
I would never, I don't talk like that usually about myself even, but it's like, if I don't accept the growth or the work that I've done, then how can I celebrate anybody else doing the work along, or that I support, et cetera, et cetera? It's just, I am now on the receiver's end of being alive and well, and then open to receive and open to share what I have to share, or whatever is necessary.
And there's not an arriving, right? Like you finally get here and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's I said at the beginning, it's practice.
Yes.
I want to bring up this slide from Power versus Force.
Right.
For people, because this we'll talk a little bit more about the journey, how we move through these different phases, but also the fact that you can, let me just show the chart. Okay. Yeah. So this comes from a book called Power versus Force by David Hawkins. And this is just one chart in the whole book. Okay. So there's a lot of stuff here, And this is basically his map of consciousness is what it is. So if you look at the bottom of this grid, you'll see shame. So shame is like the worst feeling there is. I've asked groups if you could think of anything that feels worse than shame, and I've never gotten an answer. So, from shame, you can move on up to the next level, right, of guilt. Guilt is a little bit higher up than shame, and apathy is higher than that, and so on. So you just keep on going up, 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 till you get to the point of pride, right? And the next place after pride is where, everything below that line here, where you've got courage and pride is kind of the dividing line there between what his log is 175 and 200. So in between there is where we tip from an outside orientation, right? What he calls force, into owning our power. See, everything is on the other side of courage. When you have the courage to show up, when you have the courage to be vulnerable, when you have the courage to be yourself, that's where, all the good stuff is on the other side of that. So that is where we go into owning our own power. And I just think this is let me get it off here. So it's just such a powerful illustration. I can remember sitting at the prison with one of the guys in a circle group, and I had them do an exercise, bring to mind a time when you were in the dumps, all the way down there in guilt and shame and apathy, and feel that. And where does it show up in your system? Where are you feeling it in your body? And so they did that. And then I took them up the scale. Okay, let's go to a moment of where there was joy in your life. And these guys are all sitting in the room. They're just doing a little guided thing in their own head, sitting there, and brought themselves to that place of joy. And when we were done with that exercise, one of the guys looked at me. He just was smiling from ear to ear. He said, I can't believe what I just did. I went from the worst moment of my life to the best moment of my life. And I didn't even leave my chair. It was all up here. It was all in my head, So there's the power, right, that we all have. circumstance happens, things happen, we do things, things don't go out the way you want them to or go as planned. But you always have the power to decide what that means for you, right? We don't have to be stuck in the victim mode or, whatever failure, that looks like at the moment. We always have the power to move. And you can move very quickly up and down that scale. And the other thing, Mary Ellen, the way to move the fastest on that scale to move up is through gratitude.
Yes.
Right? Wherever you may happen to be on that scale, if you can have gratitude, if you can find something to be grateful for in the midst of your story, pain, drama, trauma, whatever it is that's going on, to find something to be grateful for, it will begin to pull you up that scale of consciousness.
I know. And that's like a paradigm shifter. It felt like that for me a long time ago, because I thought, oh man, you don't know what I'm suffering. Right. And then I thought, oh, I know. And I practice gratitude all day long, but mostly mornings and evenings before I retire. And just come up with 3 things. You can do as many as you like. I try to do it all day long when the sun's out, or I hug a tree, etc. But that's why I put with the attitude, I put like gratitude, because I'm grateful that I have a chance to do it over, or I'm grateful that I'm aware that I screwed up. According to me, not according to the world. And I have to agree, because when I did this exercise, with you and our group, when you said, I don't know, shame is, I thought, I experienced shame for so many years. That was like, for me, that's why I say it's the miracle to come out and say, oh my gosh, I'm valuable, or I'm lovable, and I'm untethered, and I'm free. I'm emancipated from those my little critical voice, and it doesn't exist. Eventually they disappear because of replacing them with, Mark Waldman, when we were in school together, said he talked about patterns of the brain, ruts in the brain. Actually, it was ruts, and that I could create new ruts. And that is what I have done for the last 6 years. Actually tried to fill them in with some nice fresh dirt so you wouldn't see the tracks that were there before. But they eventually go away, and we really do have new things working for us because we allowed that. I gave myself permission, and I allowed myself to jump off because I was at a place where it was like a point of no return. It was either you get to choose. The power of decision is our tool. This energy is available to everyone, right? And so knowing that it now existed and always has, was now the practice about putting it into action.
Yeah.
And that's the turnkey.
Right.
Because after 2.5 years, I can tell you, I feel a little more motivated, a little more alive, a little more enthusiastic. And I never thought I'd ever perhaps come out this other side of what it was that I was in. But you know what? I did all the right things. And I think the other things I want to stress too, especially when you're doing this work with anybody, or is our confidentiality. Like when, you were witnessing my breakthroughs, etc. And boy, that took all I had. And then realize, wow. And then I thought, I know, but that's what I signed up for, to be honest, to be forthcoming with whatever is needed, because we never know what we say will impact somebody else and put them on their track of what they need to go and do, or find themselves, or do whatever it is.
It's sometimes, you're so right. Sometimes we're on the receiving end, and sometimes we're on the giving end. And it's all part of that journey, right? If I'm feeling empowered, and then I can create safe space,
exactly,
for you, or for whoever it is that's with me, as I'm a minister, to go through whatever it is that they're going through, whether it's sadness, if it's grief, or even, anger, But that's what we talked about all last year, was being able to create that safe space for people to move through. And so that means owning my own power,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that
Yeah.
I can then empower others. This just came to mind. I was applying for a job. I was in my early 20s. I got the job. It was at hospice. And I remember walking into that job interview, and this panel of people, and this one beautiful woman ended up being my supervisor, said to the group, "Look at that smile," meaning my smile.
Yeah.
And what is she going to do? Like, imagine her walking into a patient's room with that smile and what that's going to do in the room. I was just being me, I wasn't thinking about the ripple effect, right? That could cause, but it never, now that I know it, her saying that to me gave me a sense of my own personal power. And I own that. I know when I walk into a room that I could bring it up or I can bring it down. And I take responsibility for that. We all have that capacity. We just don't all know it because we don't all own it because we don't know it.
Yes, and then we don't know it and we don't get to practice it, because it's just like, if you can have the best set of pots and pans, but if you don't cook food,
Right.
you don't get the experience. You don't have the experience of preparing and cooking and then enjoying the meal. It's absent. And so this is the thing about practicing our teachings, etc., or practicing common sense. It doesn't have to be attached to anything else, but my commitment is being the best that I can be, whatever that looks like. And I had a meltdown almost a month ago, and I got angry for the first time in this house, and I've lived in this house for 11 years, and I thought, wow. And it took me a while, because I contemplate everything. I have to discern things. It's just who I am and who I became to be. And when I got to the bottom of it, I said, there I am, right in the middle of it all. It's all me, because it's not about, don't pick up your finger and point at anyone or say it's because of this. No, I saw my mirror, and this person reflected back a part of me that triggered me into anger and rage that I have not had. And I had to deep dive to find me again, to find me in my heart, and to say, And then I say, yep, there's still more work to do, because it showed up. And so I always think, when I'm quiet and see something like that happen to me, emotionally or mentally and physically, I can say, oh yeah, who's standing and knocking on the door, right? The gift is there. Yeah. Do I open it and recover and renew who I am? Or do I just poo-poo that and know it's going to raise its head another time when I may not be as ready to receive it as I made the space to do that? Mm-hmm. And that's the practice, making space to be with what is.
Yeah. It's part of the power. Let's see, Donna here has joined us. That mirror is no joke. We missed you, Donna.
No, I did not laugh. I did not laugh for 2 weeks, but then I got it. Then I got what it was for me. I got the message, and that's the gift. Be ready to listen. Mm-hmm. That means we have to be quiet.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, it comes through, and it's like, thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to close with a quote, because we'll probably open next week with this quote because I use it so much. It's just, it speaks to this idea of power, and it's from Viktor Frankl. And I put it in a graphic form so people could see it and really feel what this, that between stimulus and response, there is a space, right? Between what happens and what we do about it, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in that response is our growth and our freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we do spiritual practice. This is why we meditate. This is why we do mindfulness practices, so that between the thing that happens and what you do about it, right, there's that space in between. You can actually acknowledge the space, feel it, be in it, and choose rather than reacting, right? Pick what it is that you want to do. And that is our power as creative human beings, is that we choose how we respond to the things that happen to us, right? We get to choose. As long as we're in reaction mode, then all the stuff out there is what's pulling your chain.
Yeah, we don't need our boxing gloves on. We need to open up and connect to our heart and let that lighten our load a bit.
Yes.
Feel that pulse and feel that heartbeat, that we are all breathed by this source, by this power,
Yeah.
So
That's simple, right? Bring yourself right back to the breath. Just breathe.
always breathe. I breathe. I can't tell you enough how to breathe. And I just did 5 days of breath work, and it was like, oh my God, it just opens you up. So even earlier today, something was going on, and I just thought, nope, breathe in and breathe out with great intention.
Yes.
Until you feel that groundedness and connect back to us, our body, where we're whole again.
Well, my friends, I think our time is about wrapped up here. So we'll just take another nice deep breath together. Ready? Love that.
And I just want to say one last thing to us and to everyone, that, because you referred to it earlier, life is a state of mind. I can't tell you how much freedom that brought me in my coming out party. Coming out to keep showing up, being here. So I thank you very much. I thank CSL, Ocala, etc., and everyone that's listening. And Donna, yes, you were missed, honey, but
yes,
you're always in our hearts. There was a triune here, no matter what. So
yes, here she is. She got another message here. Thanks to you. Well, thank you. Missed y'all today. Got her CSL fixed here and on Zoom earlier.
good.
Let's see if we had any other comments. Yes, Reverend Marie with Living Aligned Focus Ministry. I didn't put this one up earlier, but having a full spectrum understanding of power is essential, especially as it relates to our inner journey and our personal power.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to let people know that power is good, power is necessary, right? It's not that power is good or bad, it's what you do with it. So own it, make it yours, make your life what you want it to be. That is within your power to do, each one of us. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Blessings to all.
Yes, we'll catch up again real soon.
Okie dokie. Thank
All right.
you.
Love
Bye.
ya.
Peace out.
Peace out. Another fun conversation at CSL Ocala. I am actually in the building at CSL Ocala. We had a in-person gathering this morning with circles. So great conversation that happened. Was an opportunity for folks to engage on a deeper level, not just hear the people talking, but to actually have an opportunity to add to the conversation, and we all learn and grow together. So it's been a wonderful day all around between here at CSL Ocala, here online with all of you and my dear friend Mary Ellen, and just affirming that we all, right, own our power. Own your power, use it for good. So it's time now for the part of our program where we share our gifts. Yes, by gifts, we're talking about financial gifts. We're talking about gifts of using your talent, whatever it is that you want to give to the center. And certainly money is one of those things that is really important. And so what we believe here is that it is, it's a law that what you give, you receive. What you put out there comes back to you. It's like it's karma, right? So you get the ball rolling by giving whatever it is that you want to give, that you would like to receive more of. If you want to have more friendship, if you want more love in your life, then that's probably a sign to go out there and start giving it and see what comes back. It's like seed. So money is the same way. Finance is the same way. You keep that money in circulation. The universe is going to get it one way or another. So you might as well give it to the cause that you want to give it to. So we invite you to give to CSL Ocala, and we've got a couple of ways that you can do it. You can either go to our website to cslocala.org/donate, or you can text to tithe. And that is where you send a text message from your smartphone to 352-320-5110. And what happens, you put that number in. Once you program it into your phone, you put the amount of money that you want to give us, you hit send, and it goes right from your account to ours as soon as it's set up. So it's very simple. And we are just so grateful for everybody that gives, whether, it's $5, $10, hundreds of dollars. We accept it all, and we thank you. So here is our affirmation, and I invite you to just kind of make it your own as well. It is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. I am so grateful. Yes, I am grateful. I'm grateful for Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. I'm grateful for the larger organization. I'm grateful for each of you that is watching. And just so many things, as we are, I'm not saying as we are relaunching, but as we've opened our doors again and are trying some new things. As I said, the circles today was really a lot of fun, a very immersive kind of experience. And this next weekend coming up, we're going to be having our, oh my goodness, it's a CPR class at 11 o'clock at the center for those of you who want to just know what to do in the event of an accident or someone is choking or something happens. But if you need certification, that would be an opportunity as well. If you want to get a card, then you have to pay for it. I don't remember how much it is, but it's minimal. And then we have Amy Steinberg in concert next Sunday at 5 p.m. If you want to come for that concert, and she is amazing. She's just a force of nature. But you have to buy your tickets ahead of time because we can't, there's only so much space in that room. So do get your tickets on Eventbrite, and I believe you can get them via Meetup or even at our site. So I think that is all of our message for today. Let me see if I've got any other comments or things to share here. Very good. Yes, $35. Here we go. For the CPR card, free if you're not getting a card. Thank you, Donna, for that information. Grateful. So I think that's probably brings us to our close and to our closing prayer, which comes to us from Unity and James Dillett Freeman. I love this prayer for protection. I taught it to my kids when they were little, and it's just one of those things like an earworm. It just stays with you, and I think about this often. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I just pray and affirm that all is well in your world as we each go into our respective weeks, doing what is that is ours to do. As those challenges come up for you, may they become stepping stones to your greater success. And I just affirm that we each are owning our power to create the lives that we came here to create and the lives that we came here to live. Have a fabulous week, everyone. Look forward to catching up with you again next week, or maybe even seeing you at the center in person. Love and blessings.